back to my channel. My name's Shay and I produce career, financial well-being and lifestyle content. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Please do check out my other videos and make sure that you like, comment and subscribe. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the different ways that you can progress without necessarily having to become a manager. Now, I know how it is sometimes with certain roles in certain organizations where you look around and you think, the only way I can progress in my job is if I become a manager, and I don't know if I want to become a manager. What other types of things can I do to still get a promotion, to still go up a level in my job grade, or to get more money? Let's be real, a lot of the time we want a promotion and progression because we want more money. And sometimes we can be a bit stuck on how do we do that without necessarily going down the people management route. So I thought in this video that I would share some of the tips that I have learned over the course of my career of the different types of things that you can do to still progress without necessarily going down the manager route. Because I can appreciate being a manager is not for everyone. Now I'm going to do a separate video on how to decide whether being a people manager or going down a different route is for you. I'm going to save that for another video. Most of what I'm going to say is going to be mostly applicable to my sector, which is financial crime prevention and financial services. However, I am pretty sure that some of the things I might mention might still be applicable and transferable to other sectors, but I can't really speak for other sectors other than my own. But this could still be of interest or of help to other fields. So yeah, if you like the video, please do comment. And if you can think of other tips other than some of the stuff I've mentioned, please do comment below. But yeah, let's get into the video. So the first tip that I would give is to become a subject matter expert in your field. Now that probably sounds like a very, very basic tip, but nobody can ever deny how valuable it is to have somebody that is an expert in a particular subject matter. So this can look like different things to different people. So if I use financial crime as an example, there are many different components of financial crime prevention that you can become a subject matter expert in. You could become a subject matter expert in KYC. You could become a subject matter expert in fraud. You could become a subject matter expert in AML. You could become a subject matter expert in sanctions. There's so many different things that you can specialize in and become an expert in that allows you to still progress within that particular area without necessarily having to manage a team. So you could work for an organization where they are going through a period of change, or they need to improve a particular area of their financial crime prevention framework, and you might be that person that they bring in as the expert to help them do that. So for example, let's say they are having a lot of issues maintaining their regulatory expectations for AML or for fraud or for sanctions. If you are a specialist in that area, or you're the subject matter expert, they might bring you in solely just to focus on making sure that that area of their organization is up to scratch. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to manage a team. It just means that they need your expertise to come in and tell them how they should be doing that particular thing. So let's use AML as an example. Let's say a company was going through some regulatory scrutiny and the regulators were really coming down on them like a ton of bricks to say, you need to make sure that your AML controls are up to scratch. You could be that person that comes in and says, right, this is what you need to do. This is what is required. This is how you need to build your AML prevention frameworks. This is what you need to do. And yeah, that in itself is progression. That in itself is something that allows you to still progress, whether it's within your organization, whether it's going to another organization and delivering a project. That still allows you to have the similar level of seniority and progression and opportunities that a manager might get. But you're going down a slightly different route and you're not having to necessarily people manage anybody along the way. So that's just one example. And like I said, that can be applicable to any sector, I think, because nowadays people are really willing to pay good money for skills and experience and knowledge. And if you have that in abundance, I guarantee you progression is not too far away from you. Another way you can progress in your field without necessarily going down the people management route is to have a really clear understanding of what roles and opportunities look like for your area. Now, I know, again, it sounds so basic, but there are a lot of people that actually don't know what progression looks like for their area because maybe they've never really asked, maybe they've never really done that research. But look at your company, look at how they structure their roles, look at the different grades they have for different roles. What does that look like, and which ones can you align yourself to that can still allow you to get the level of progression that you need without necessarily having to go down the manager route? Now, I know in some organizations it almost feels like, well, there is nothing else apart from becoming a manager. I can't do anything else. But what if there are actual gaps in some of the job categories that you can actually fill? Let's say, for example, going back to the previous example that I mentioned around becoming a subject matter expert, maybe that's something that they need. Sometimes organizations don't know what they need. Sometimes you might have to be that person to create a bit of a business case to say, hey, actually, this is a gap that we have in this department, and this is a gap that I think that I can fill, and this is what benefit I think that having this particular role or this particular expertise is going to give and benefit the department and the company. Some companies might be receptive to that. Obviously, maybe not all, that might not work everywhere, but definitely I have been in situations where I've had employees pretty much pitch to me a role that they know is going to benefit the department, benefit the team, a gap that we have that we need to consider as part of our operating model. And I've gone, yeah, absolutely, you're right. So again, like, you can look at maybe seeing if you can create an opportunity for yourself that might not exist within the current job families or job gradings, but would actually be really, really beneficial to the company. So really take time to study and have a look at what that looks like. And if there are any gaps that you think that you could fill and that you could put a case for, then why not? The next tip I'm going to give, which I actually think is a really strong one, is to enhance your analytical skills. When I tell you companies are willing to pay money for people who have strong data and analytical skills, look everywhere. And what I'm saying, it might sound like a bit wild to some, but if you look around and look at what actually helps keep most companies going, it's data. People, they need data to run their organizations. They make data-driven decisions every single day. So if you have that skill set, I guarantee you progression is literally around the corner for you. And if you don't have that skill set, it's probably something you might want to look into. Now, again, taking this back to my sector, which is financial crime, the amount of times that I have really relied on strong data analytic department to help me with some of the decisions that I need to make. Honestly, it's such a key skill, and it's a skill that every company needs. Like, it kind of doesn't matter what sector you're in. You're going to need some form of data to make some decisions. You're going to need some data to plan things, to model things, to build things. So again, if you have that skill set, that's something that you can do and that can take you to different levels of progression without necessarily, again, having to manage people. You could be that person that's responsible for just that area or that particular side of data analytics, and you don't necessarily have to manage people. Like, I know it's going to be different for every organization, so again, I can't speak for everything, but from what I've seen, I have seen some really strong data subject matter experts that they just do their thing. They're there, they produce reports, they help with analytics, and they don't have to manage anybody. So, and again, and to be honest, even if that's not the route that you want to go down, having some sort of data or enhanced set of analytical skills can really help you progress your career in more ways than you can even think of. So forget the fact that you might not necessarily want to people manage, but just as a way to progress yourself, just as a way of enhancing your learning and also enhancing your how valuable you will become to your organization or to other organizations, I would 100% recommend people to have a look at how they can enhance their data skills, myself included. That's something that I've been doing for a while and I still want to continue to do because I see the value that it brings, even just as simple as being able to produce my own report and not having to rely on a data analyst to do it for me. The opportunities are endless having those types of skills. So I would really recommend it as a way of trying to progress within your field and also just generally trying to enhance your overall capability. Another tip I'd give is to look at whether or not there's an opportunity to manage a function or lead a function, again, without having to necessarily manage people. So maybe look at roles within your area or outside of your area, if it's not applicable, that really focus on project management or business analyst type roles, because often you'll find with some of those roles, they are specific to an area and they might not necessarily need to manage a team, but they're responsible for that particular project or delivering that piece of work. So if that sounds like something that's more in line with where you would want to go or what you would want to do, then have a look at that. And it kind of ties a little bit back to what I was saying before about maybe looking for a gap in the operating model and seeing if that you can pitch a role that you think the company might need. So if there are a lot of things happening at once, a lot of projects happening at once, and they haven't really looked at outsourcing that level of project management, that could be something that you put yourself forward for as somebody that is the SME in that area, and that might make a lot of sense to them, and that might actually also help aid your progression too. So yeah, maybe look at individual contributor type of roles like a project manager or a business analyst, and if that's applicable to your sector or your field, that's definitely something that I would recommend as a tip for being able to progress without necessarily managing anybody. Another way that you can progress is by considering becoming independent. Maybe look into setting up your own consultancy, becoming a consultant, being someone that, you know, works in different places, delivering particular types of work, offering a particular level of expertise, without necessarily having to be committed to anywhere as such. So yeah, that way you've pretty much set up your own business, really. So that is a way of progressing in your career without necessarily managing people. And it sort of ties into what I was saying earlier about being a subject matter expert. And like I said, companies are willing to pay a good amount of money for people who know what they're talking about and people who can deliver things quickly and to an effective standard. So that is an option or something that you can look at if you feel that you've gotten to a place within your career or your area that you feel that you know enough, you've learned enough, you've built up years, maybe not even so much years, but you've built up a wealth of experience, and you feel that that experience is something that can add significant value to organizations. Looking at becoming independent is an option. Of course, it's not for everybody. Not everybody likes the idea of consulting or contracting. Some people prefer to stick to the permanent employment route, which is completely understandable, but it is an option for people who perhaps think that they have a lot of skills that are transferable, that they can add value to different organizations and basically be their own boss. So yeah, it's definitely something to consider. Another tip I'd give is to look into maybe more training or quality assurance type of roles within your sector. So using financial crime as an example, it is often really, really useful to have people that not only have the subject matter, but are also very effective at delivering training, because sometimes having large operational teams, you're having to train people continuously, whether it's new people that come into the business or employees that have been there for some time and there's been some process changes or regulatory changes, etc., operational changes. And often, you know, having the level of expertise where somebody can actually train and deliver, because training is not easy. Being able to train and deliver training is not an easy task, and it takes a certain level of skill. So maybe look into upskilling yourself so that you can become somebody that is more of a trainer, somebody that looks after the overall training and ongoing development of the department, or looking at the quality assurance side of things, somebody that makes sure that the quality is up to a certain standard and maintains that level of effectiveness across the whole department. There's different ways you can look into this, but it's definitely something that a lot of companies do have as a gap. And if that's something that you think that your skills would fit, definitely worth looking into. And that is a way that you can progress, because ultimately you'd probably just be responsible for the training and the delivery side of things. And again, you might not have to manage people as a result of that. So I would definitely recommend looking into those sorts of roles, because it allows you to kind of have the best of both, because you would have built up a level of expertise and knowledge from the particular sector that you're in, but then you can now apply that into more of a training role and be able to train others and develop others, which I also think is quite a rewarding type of role to have as well. So you have that level of progression, but there's also a sense of reward that comes from training, delivering training, and seeing people develop off the back of the training that you have given them. And the last thing that I would say is, if you really, really cannot avoid people management for whatever reason, then maybe see if there is a way that you can provide some sort of team leader style of responsibility, but maybe without the intricacies that come with people management. So for example, if you're part of quite a large team, you might want to support your manager by helping train and mentor more junior members of staff, maybe oversee some of their productivity and some of the work that they do, maybe checking their work, etc. But you don't have to do their one-to-ones, for example. You don't have to deal with what comes with people management, but you're able to still get a certain level of exposure that helps you when you want to progress to that next level, but you don't have to actually have the people management side of things. So that is a way of maybe striking a bit of a balance. So that's definitely something I'd recommend. And that was something that I actually did quite early on in my career. I helped train the new team that had come in. I was effectively the team leader, but I wasn't their direct line manager. My manager was still their actual line manager, but I still had exposure to things that really helped me when it came for going for the next role at a different organization, because I had the transferable skills to allow me to actually effectively step into that role. So yeah, definitely something worth considering if you feel that people management is just not something that you can avoid, but you want to be able to still progress and you want to still be able to have the opportunity to progress, then that's definitely something that I'd recommend. And if all else fails and you really, for whatever reason, you cannot avoid it, maybe see if there's an opportunity to start off with a smaller team. Maybe wet your feet a little, maybe manage one person or two people and see how you get on with that, rather than throwing yourself into a situation where you're managing quite a large team early on. So yeah, guys, those are all of my tips. I hope that you found them useful. What are some of the tips that you would add to some of the things that I've said? Please do comment below. If you like these type of videos, please let me know. Happy to do some more on this topic. So yeah, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.